All right, round 2. Let's see if the quality of this video is a little bit better. I'm gonna wait for a few people to get on and then we'll start again.
Let's do it.
So that we don't go through the first 5 minutes and find out that it's really choppy.
Yeah, that's not good.
2 people. Okay, if you're hopping on, let us know if the video quality is better this time. Hi.
Hopefully our Wi-Fi isn't going out, first world props.
I don't know what happened. Okay, they said it's better. So let's just start back in the beginning. We are Elissa and Tyler Bowman. We are Presidential Diamonds with It Works Global. And tonight we want to answer so many of y'all's questions about what we have been doing. So for those of you that don't know, about 2 weeks ago, Tyler and I decided to do a modified version of the keto diet. I picked his brain for several days before we decided to jump into this. He is so much more knowledgeable when it comes to nutrition and how the body works. And so I forced him to be on Facebook Live with me tonight so that we could just kind of tell you the benefits and why we chose to do this. I know there's a lot of skepticism out there when it comes to fad diets. And so we just wanted to address some of those things and talk a little bit about the science behind it and then just kind of what a day-to-day routine looks like for us now that we've been doing it. So I'm going to ask a lot of questions and he's going to give you a lot of answers and I'll just interject with what I know, okay? So first of all, what is keto? Just a basic overview of what's keto.
So keto in general refers to a specific lifestyle or dietary intake that promotes ketogenesis or promotes ketosis in general. So the spectrum of what keto is relatively wide. Keto doesn't refer to one specific diet or one specific macronutrient. Thank you, Eric. It doesn't refer to one specific macronutrient distribution. So it can be different for every individual. It's going to be a little bit different. So all in all, when we're looking at keto, we're looking at a higher fat diet with moderate protein and low in carb intake. And again, going back to each individual, it's going to be the macronutrient distribution is going to vary depending on the person. So
you're just saying there's not actually a definition for keto.
Yeah.
There's a definition for ketosis, but not
correct. So essentially it is when we start utilizing ketones as fuel as opposed to what we're used to using, which is glucose, aka sugar. So in a lot of the, ever since we were knee high to a grasshopper, when in 3rd grade, they give you the little food pyramid and they say, oh, well, you have to eat 60% carbohydrates and low fat is the most healthy diet. Well, if you go look at a lot of, healthy low fat things these days, you can't eat a basic granola.
Okay, well, I think we're back. So we'll see. I put Wi-Fi on. I don't know what's with our house, but I feel like it's just made out of metal and has the worst Wi-Fi and service ever. So that's cool. Again, first world problems. But getting back to just diets in general and low fat diets.
So a lot of low fat, typically what they would say is healthy. They promote high sugar intake, which, as we know, leads to a lot of other things. If we look at the obesity epidemic in the United States right now, maybe not directly related to, but indirectly related to a high, simple carbohydrate intake, very sugary things.
We're all sugar addicts, is what you're saying.
Kind of.
Not all of us. But,
some of us are.
But it's true that when a lot of foods were put low fat, when the food industry started making things low fat, they started pumping those things with more carbohydrates, right?
So if you want a good book, go read a book called Good Calories, Bad Calories. It is, I don't want to say it's a quick read. It's very research dense, but it it cites hundreds of different nutritional sources of how research was started on nutrition, decades ago in the 50s, 60s, and 70s when a lot of these new regulations came out, and essentially how inaccurate they were. And even now to this day, the people that were leading the research then have since come out and said, oh yeah, we were totally paid to produce the results that
low fat.
And I'm not like a conspiracy theorist, but it was very much a money driven research project
or something. Okay, so I mean, even when I go to the store and I see something that's like really high in fat, I still just because that's the way we were raised. It's just like high fat things are bad. Like you want to have a low fat diet. And so it's hard to adjust to the fact that it's not quite science.
Right.
So, but I know that Tyler and I often talk about just diets in general. Like there's so many different types of diets out there. I mean, people will say like they're on, they even just have a well-balanced diet. That's still a diet. Having no diet is still technically a diet. You're just not having any restrictions. I mean, there's...
Yeah. It's a tricky term, right? Because we say, oh, well, I'm doing the Mediterranean diet or whatever. But yeah, you live in South Carolina and you're doing the Mediterranean diet. But people that live in the Mediterranean area have been eating that way for like 5,000 years. So is it really like a diet, or is it just you're eating a certain way to hopefully achieve a certain result? So essentially, I'm not a big fan of the term diet or the kind of typical terminology of like, oh, I'm doing I don't like keto diet because it's a fad thing, or I don't like, it's gaining popularity, but people have been eating that way for a long time. It's just like, oh, the paleo diet is kind of a popular thing. People have been eating that since we were carrying around clubs. I mean, it's not like it's a new thing that someone just thought up. It just has a little marketing behind it now.
Well, and here's the thing about all of the diets and choosing a healthy diet is you should never cut out any one macronutrient. Like every macronutrient serves a purpose. You need carbs, you need protein, you need fats. This is just basically flip-flopping the percentages of the things that you're getting, but it's for a purpose. Like you're not just moving them around just to see if you can lose weight. You're moving them around because there are proven benefits for increasing fat, and you need fat. So having low fat diet doesn't quite make sense for a lot of body function.
Right. And that kind of takes us to another point, is that every individual is different. So, maybe 50% fat is good for me, whereas 70% fat is better for her, or and every individual should fuel their body in a way that promotes the lifestyle that they have. If I was a 100-meter sprinter in the Olympics, I probably wouldn't be on a keto diet for issues that are probably better saved for another day. But as I do longer distance triathlon stuff right now, it actually makes a lot of sense for me to do a keto-based diet or a higher fat-based diet because fat provides basically a longer energy source at lower intensity. So while I may go out and do a triathlon that lasts 11 hours, I'm not going to be sprinting for 11 hours straight. So I don't need that immediate fuel source. The longevity of fat as fuel is much better than your basic carbohydrate.
That makes sense. So is keto good for weight loss? Like, is it, a lot of people say it's the best thing for weight loss. Some people don't agree with it at all. Can you lose weight doing it? And is it the best way to lose weight?
So it's great for weight loss, but I will say this, there's multiple studies that have shown it's not any better than any other controlled diet that's geared towards weight loss. At the end of the day, weight loss, hey, will you get out of here? Go.
Dog parents.
Any diet that's out there, Matt, don't talk to me like that. Any diet that's out there where you are expending more calories than you are taking in, it's on a very basic level without looking at other things like your resting metabolic rate or your hormone levels, or just a lot of body processes that go into losing weight. On a daily basis, if you're expending more calories than you are taking in, it's a matter of time before you start losing weight. So whether you sit at home and you eat Cool Whip for every meal, which I do not recommend, if you can figure that out into your macronutrient profile, you will lose weight. Undoubtedly, you will lose weight. Unfortunately, it's a lot of sugar, a lot of processed stuff, maybe not the best thing for you.
But short term, you can lose weight with a lot of different diets out there.
Absolutely. So short term, even long term, keto is great, moderate, kind of like the health, like the well-balanced, 33% of each thing, or if you go with the traditional 60% carbs, there are ways to lose weight. The real thing here is what is sustainable for you, or what works with your lifestyle. So going back to what I do, keto or a modified keto works great. But it's not, again, every person's not the same, and how you fuel yourself for your lifestyle, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a professional athlete, your nutrition should reflect and support your lifestyle. So to kind of answer the question, yeah, you can lose weight with any diet, and keto is great for losing weight. It's not the king, of diets that lose weight. There's a lot of moving parts that go into weight loss. So it's something that you should talk more directly about to a nutritional expert, and probably, if you're really looking for just weight loss, getting on a, very structured dietary regimen that works in your favor for the specific goals that you have.
Well, we're going to talk about some of the other benefits and why we chose keto opposed to some of those other things, and some of the the additional benefits besides weight loss. But the other thing I'll throw out there for me, and the reason that I was gung-ho about starting this, was just, number one, self-discipline, because I feel like food isn't always an area that I have self-discipline in. I haven't had to have self-discipline, but I'm getting older, and so I want to be. And for me, it's just been a way to cut out excess sugars and like carbohydrates that I didn't need, that weren't actually beneficial, because like we said before, like so many foods are filled with like junk, simple carbohydrates. And so for me, it was more about that. So even, I plan on sticking with this, because to me, I think it's sustainable, and we'll talk about our routine and some different ways that for us it's going to be sustainable. But for me, it was like, even if I don't stick with this long term, I feel like I'm going to cut out so many things that I really don't need in my diet. Even if I go back to having a normal balanced diet, it's going to teach me and help me be less addicted to some of these things that I don't need and I'm not benefiting from, and I might even, be getting harmed from, like long term. So that kind of got off topic, but let's just talk about like some of the benefits, like why we chose to do it and why some other people might want to choose to do it.
So initially keto started, it was actually developed by doctors and neurologists, and they were using this diet to help treat a few different neurological conditions. So when you look at the human body, every nerve is essentially surrounded with a layer of fat. So, different neurologic diseases, whether it's brain central or, systemic body wide, whether it's ALS or Parkinson's, epilepsy, there's a lot of neurologic conditions that are now, they are prescribing the keto diet because it's a higher fat, but a healthier fat diet that is used to help replenish and repair a lot of those healthy fats in the body. The keto diet is very good for keeping inflammation relatively low. As we know, simple carbs like sugar and real simple starchy carbs, white bread, anything that's white really, can create a lot of inflammation in a specific population of people. So inflammation's not great for an extended period of time for anyone. So
it leads to quite a few diseases, or they think anyways.
And not to say that keto is like the magical disease preventer, but it's a great way for your body to, change. If something's not working for you, try something new. It's definitely worth a shot. Another good aspect of the keto diet is your brain actually can only, the rest of your body can use all of these different sources for energy. It can use glucose, it can convert and use protein, convert and use fat, it can use ketones, you can use all of those things body-wide. Your brain, on the other hand, really only has only two different fuel sources, one of which is glucose, which is what we're using now. But a lot of these high glucose and high sugar diets, like I just mentioned, are leading to inflammation. And some of the research that I saw just in the last week, they're prescribing, kind of going back to what I just said, a lot of Parkinson's patients are on the keto diet to help keep that brain inflammation low so that their bodies are utilizing keto or ketone bodies for fuel as opposed to glucose. But because the brain can utilize glucose and ketone bodies for fuel, it really, really helps with mental clarity long term. So, when you switch,
we all need some of that.
Yeah, when you switch over to a keto-based diet, you usually within the first, once you kind of get over the adaptation to being without a lot of those sugars in your diet, you will find yourself having a lot more mental sharpness, clarity, not as much brain fog as they say, but all in all, it's a very good way to supply your brain with a lot of energy in a natural way that we just haven't been using. I mean,
I have felt way better, and it's one of those things that you don't really realize how unclear you are and how tired you are until you don't feel that way anymore. And I've always kind of felt like, gosh, does everyone feel this way? Like I almost feel like I can fall asleep 24/7. And I know that's weird, but I've just felt better. I've had more energy. And I know that it comes from fat, because even when I did like If It Fits Your Macros, like last year sometime, just like keeping track of what I was eating, I was always like struggling with the intake of fats, which makes sense why I was always so tired and always so hungry, which is another benefit of doing keto and getting healthy, good fats, is that they help with your appetite. I don't know if it necessarily helps you suppress your appetite more than it just keeps you full longer.
Right. So I challenge you to try to go eat 5,000 calories of steak. Probably not gonna happen. That is an absurd amount of food. And at some point you reach a point of like hunger and satisfaction where you just can't put any more in, where I know all of us have sat down in front of a bag of chips and eaten the entire thing. Or pasta, any of those carbohydrates.
And then you probably are hungry like an hour later.
All of those carbohydrate-based diets, carbohydrates, and it's been proven time and time again, do not keep you fuller longer in the way that high-fat and moderate protein diets do. So decreased appetite for a longer period of time really helps you consume less food to a healthy point. Like you do need to eat, but it helps you consume less food so that if your goal is weight loss, which most people, that's their goal, it assists you in that weight loss.
Well, and again, for me, it's like I wasn't really looking to lose a lot of weight by starting this, but I thought if I could be fuller longer by getting healthy fats, when I do snack or when I do want carbs, I don't overindulge. I like have better cravings. I don't, even if I'm going to have like some veggie sticks or something, like I'm good with a handful. Whereas before, like I could eat the whole bag.
Was gone.
Or half the bag, usually.
So from an athletic standpoint, I use the keto diet to long term. Once you stick with keto for a while, your body begins this process of basically fat adaptation. So right away in the first month, it is a little more challenging for your body to be using fat as fuel. You're doing something your body's not used to. It would be like if you're right-handed, taking a pen in your left hand and trying to write your name. It's just not easy. It's clunky. It's awkward. It's the same way with your metabolism. when you start eating a high-fat diet, your body's like, whoa, what's going on here? We have all this stuff. Okay, I feel full. Maybe you lost a few pounds here or there. But it takes a little bit of time for your body to efficiently break down those carbohydrates in a very effective manner. So there's a study called the FASTER study. Basically, they took, I don't know the exact number. They took a bunch of elite endurance athletes, and they put half of them on a ketogenic diet for a year. They put the other half on the standard high carbohydrate, elite aerobic athlete diet. And while their performances, and they were on the same training programs, their performances didn't differ. Both dietary plans worked well for both groups. But where previously it was thought that you could only metabolize or burn 1 gram of fat per minute in exercise, after a year of the keto diet, your body, some of these athletes, their bodies became so well adapted to burning fat as fuel, they were burning up to 1.8 grams of fat per minute during exercise, which doesn't really mean much to you, but that is a ton of fat. And it's something that was like totally off the charts. No one had ever expected a human to be able to burn that much fat. But once their bodies adapted effectively to this type of diet, they became incredibly efficient at burning fat. It's just like anything else. The more you practice something, the better you get. And
you get more energy, right, from burning
fat
than burning.
I mean, when you look at, essentially when you look at a food label, when you're looking at calories on a food label, that is, in a very basic term, is the amount of energy that you are getting from that food item. Fat has 9 calories per gram, whereas carbs and protein only have 4 calories of energy, or 4 units of energy, if you will, compared to 9. So fat's it takes an extra few steps for your body to break that down. So, it's not a direct, 9 to 4, energy ratio, but there's a lot more energy packed in fat than there is, molecule to molecule, than there is in a molecule of glucose.
When I picked your brain on the plane, we're talking about lighter fluid, or like burning, when carbs go into your body just burns it, like it has lighter fluid on it. Mm-hmm. But then fat, it has to work harder to actually. Yeah.
So essentially it's like the carbs, I guess, would be like the paper that goes into a fire. As soon as you throw it in there, it burns it up really fast, which is great if you need it. Like while you're exercising, carbs are a great fuel source. But if you want your fire to burn longer through the night, you don't throw one piece of paper on it or even a whole ream of paper. You put a log on it. So essentially, fat is that log. It's going to burn longer and stronger for a longer period of time.
Makes sense. Okay, so one of the reasons I was kind of iffy about this diet, and I didn't do a whole lot of research, but I just felt like keto was the people that just ate a lot of bacon and and cheese maybe, and and that's just what I pictured. I just pictured people having literally whatever they want minus carbs and calling that a healthy diet. And so it really turned me off to the idea of keto, because I just thought, even if you're losing weight, there's just no way that's actually healthy for you in the long run. So is keto, can keto be healthy? Is it healthy?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we look at the dietary profile of the things that you eat on the keto diet, there's a ton of things that are extremely healthy that you can eat every day. I mean, I personally, texture-wise, I like pistachios and nuts, and I like all the crunchy things. But cheese is not bad for you. Avocado. We eat a decent amount of meat. So MCT oil, which if you're not familiar with what that is just medium chain triglyceride. So triglyceride means fat, and there's short chain, medium chain, and long chain. Short chain gets burned up pretty fast. Long chain is too clunky and it's inefficient for the body to burn. Medium chain is kind of like that sweet spot.
So, I mean, we have a grocery list. We have a couple of different grocery lists that are like keto friendly. So if you're watching and you want that, like, happy to shoot that over to you guys. But that's been helpful. I mean, you know, and we're also doing, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but we're also doing carb reloading days or carb cycling days, whatever you want to call it. So there are days that you kind of replenish, I guess, the carbs in your body, because your body still needs carbs, and we're not like going zero carbs at any point. Right. But there are days that we are allowing ourselves to have more carbs to kind of reload our body of that macronutrient.
Yeah. So, and this is especially important with people that are active, whether you just do Zumba or whatever your thing is. If you're an active person, you're going to need, in general, a little more carbohydrate for your body than the person who just watches what they eat and they're not as active. So me doing my training thing, Alyssa's working out pretty frequently. 2 days a week, we cycle in carbs, and well, I guess not quite 2 days a week, but about every 5 days, we cycle in carbs, more carbs than what we usually have.
But like not, so when I found out about it, I was like, we've got a cheat day. This is going to be so easy. It's not funny. You can allow yourself to have more carbs, but we're not talking like 500 carbs. We're talking like maybe doubling the amount that we've been having.
R.I.P. Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah, like not that crazy, but you can get, you know, like sweet potatoes, and like we have a list for those too, of like, here, these are good carb cycling day carbs. So you get to increase your carbs and replenish them. But don't get me wrong, it's not like a cheat day.
Unfortunately. It's like a baby
It's a little cheat.
Day. Dang it.
Is that most of the benefits?
Yeah.
It can be healthy,
so,
it's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's most definitely a healthy diet. I saw someone ask a question earlier that, can it be unhealthy for anyone? And that's actually a very good question. We didn't even think about that. Yeah, the keto diet actually it can be potentially hazardous to some people. If you have, so right now there's a lot of questions about how accurate or how important like your blood cholesterol levels are. So this kind of goes along with the stuff we talked about earlier in the dietary recommendations. There's a wide variety of what's important in your blood lipid profile or in your blood cholesterol. And if you generally have a very high blood cholesterol and you have something like a family history of blood cholesterol problems or extremely high blood pressure or something off the charts, obviously we recommend talking to your doctor about it. But
just like any diet, if you have any health.
But it can absolutely potentially have some hazardous effects for people, that may have some specifically, blood fat related issues. So whether that's cholesterol or blood pressure or, free triglycerides or whatever it may be, those are kind of the things you're really looking at there.
Yeah. So it can be really good for some people that have certain things, and it could be not so great. I mean, any diet could be not so great for someone that's dealing with a serious health issue. I mean, even a low-fat diet doesn't mean that it's going to be good for certain situations or certain diseases.
Absolutely.
Is that most of the benefits you wanted to talk about? Were there any? I saw someone ask, since I'm a vegetarian, would this diet be a lot harder for me?
It would be more challenging, that's for sure. So a lot of the fat that we take in, me personally, so I do a lot of healthy fats from things like avocados, nuts. I have a decent amount of dairy. Dairy doesn't really upset me too much, so I'm totally okay with that. Whether it's cheese, milk, yogurt, sour cream, all the things my Midwest roots.
All the things I don't like, basically.
Yes, but to achieve our, and I'm sure it's doable for a vegetarian. I am just not quite. I feel I'm not quite as,
because protein's fairly still low.
Yeah, I mean it's doable, absolutely, but it would be a little more challenging. You'd be eating a lot of avocado, and it also depends on your level of where exactly you are on that spectrum of vegetarian, vegan, like, do you eat eggs? Do you eat honey? Do you eat dairy? So it's kind of a personal decision there for some people. But so kind of the next question that we often get is like, well, man, you guys have been talking about food this whole time. And like, don't you guys, I know I've seen you take keto products. Like, if you can do most of this with food, why take the products? Like, what do the products do? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So we want to be clear, like, you can be in ketosis without products. Like, that's been around for a long time, like nutritional ketosis. But we do take some products, and I think a lot of people just want to know what their day would even look like. Like, what would your meal plan actually look like? What can you actually eat? So we kind of want to just like run down what our day looks like. And then also, for those of you that are thinking you want to give it a shot, like, give you some tips that either we've done or we've learned while starting that might help you if you want to give it a go. So, we kind of are the same. Like, we stop eating food most nights, maybe around 7:30, depending on, yeah. So we try not to snack late at night. Doesn't always happen, but your body naturally fasts through the night, unless you like are you sleepwalker and you walk to your fridge and eat in the middle of the night. I know some people struggle with that, but your body naturally is fasting or getting into maybe getting into ketosis through the night. So trying to prolong that fast. So stopping to eat 7:30, and then first thing when we wake up, we do our ketones, which is here. You want to talk about ketones? They're yummy.
Yeah, they are pretty good, actually.
It's like Powerade or Crystal Lighter or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's just like a good lemonade flavor. So I like it. Generally, you start off your morning with ketones because it doesn't break your fast. So your body's still fasting, your body's still probably in that natural ketosis state. But the ketones actually give you a little boost of energy because you are intaking something that's not going to break your fast, but your body can use those ketones as energy. So essentially you are still getting the benefits of being in ketosis and still of that benefits of that kind of overnight fast, if you will, without having that like dip in energy. So you take the ketones, essentially
mix it with like 12 ounces of water, so you're getting water at the same time.
Yep. And so essentially it kind of it helps you kind of stabilize throughout the day. Whereas a nutritional ketosis is a little harder to truly stay in ketosis all day. A lot of people kind of dip in and out of ketosis, which isn't really that bad. It just, you don't get the benefits of being in ketosis pretty much the entire day. So it kind of helps accelerate some of the results. I'm
not going to lie, it was kind of weird to wake up and do this first and have like an ice cold like lemonade first thing in the morning, because I'm used to just like wanting my coffee. But once I did it the first day and I realized that I felt really awesome. And I mean, it felt like I was having a treat. Like, I felt like I was having dessert first thing in the morning, or like having a Powerade, which I don't normally drink. So it kind of felt like I was cheating a little bit on keto, even though it actually was helping with my body staying in ketosis. So that's what we start with. And then the next thing that both of us do is drink our keto coffee, which I'm obsessed with. And I was doing this before keto. We both were drinking this before keto just as a way to stay full longer. It has that MCT oil that we talked about. They come in individual packets, so you don't have to like have the MCT oil, the collagen, the grass-fed butter, and put it all in your blender and mix it up and create a huge mess. So the keto coffee is amazing. So I've been doing that. You can also continue your fast with the keto coffee. And so I'll do my ketones, and then usually about an hour and a half later, I'll drink a cup of the keto coffee. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
Me personally, the keto coffee's great, but I like a stronger coffee taste, and the keto coffee's nice and smooth and mild. So I'll do kind of I make black coffee, and then I'll put a little bit of
keto creamer. So the keto creamer is seriously the same ingredients as the keto coffee, minus the coffee.
Right.
So
you can just kind of gauge how strong you want the coffee to be, essentially.
Yeah. And you can also cook with it.
And I think there's also the Himalayan pink salt in there, which is just kind of an electrolyte that helps balance a little bit of your I guess your body's, I don't want to say pH, but it helps balance your electrolyte levels, especially if you're going to be drinking it in the morning after fasting throughout the night.
So what's great about this is that I've had a hard time finding things that are high in fat. It's hard to get enough fat in my diet to keep the percentage correct. And so I love the keto coffee because it's just that. It has 9 grams of fat and it's low in carbs. And so love the keto coffee, love the creamer, but the way that I've been using the creamer is actually for lunch or after a post-workout. I actually add it into vegan protein that's low in carbs also. So I'm still getting the 9 grams of fat, mixing into my shake. It actually tastes awesome. And so then I've had keto coffee in the morning as my breakfast, and it lasts me a good chunk of the day, like a couple of hours. I stay full from that keto coffee, and then when I go to have lunch or a snack, I actually just do the shake. I add the greens to it because those are low in carbs, because you can't have as many fruits and veggies as I'm used to on keto, but greens are a great way to get those nutrients but keep them lower in carbs. And so I've been doing the shake with almond milk, with the creamer and the greens, and it still ends up only being like 9 grams of carbs, which is pretty good for how much protein and how much fat is in the shake. So that's kind of been my daily routine, except for on the days that I work out, I've been using either our Keto Go as a pre-workout or as my afternoon slump cure, because especially when you're just starting and you're used to having more of that sugar, the Keto Go is a great way to kind of battle that need for the extra carbs. You know, people say that there's a keto flu. There's not actually a flu from doing keto. It's more of your body's reaction to a lack of sugar that it's used to having, correct?
That is correct.
So the Keto Go looks more like 5-hour energy, has a lot of the same benefits as the ketones, but it's a small little, it's already liquid. You don't mix it with anything. It's just more of like a shot of lemony goodness.
It is tasty.
It is. It's almost like,
it's orange.
Well, it's citrusy, but it's citrus, technically.
It is citrus. It's like pixie stick.
It really is like a pixie stick. It tastes like candy, basically.
It's awesome, yeah.
So do you have anything you want to add to your routine? I figure we can talk about just an example of maybe what we eat for dinner, or
Sure. Yeah, so generally when I work out in the mornings, I'll wake up, do have my ketones, and my fasts are sometimes, depending on if my workouts are in the morning or in the evening, I'll kind of do the same thing, ketones, coffee, go to work. For lunch, I'm usually something easy like nuts, salad, avocado, maybe throw some protein in there like fish, chicken,
You can
beef.
put some creamer on your salad if you do that.
I could, maybe next time.
Yep.
And then dinner, we've been actually trying a ton of new keto recipes. It's been interesting.
It makes you get creative in the kitchen, and honestly, I kind of like it. Like, it's just kind of given us something new to do. I feel like we've had all the same meals basically since we've been married, and so it's been fun to play around in the kitchen and get creative with how we make different things, especially different takes on meals that we really enjoy having, like making cauliflower nachos instead of putting them on tortilla chips. Actually weren't bad. Would you catch me doing that a month ago? Probably not. But just an easy substitution out of something that we already eat all the time totally changed the benefits of that meal. So I think it's been fun. So, I mean, again, like he said, avocado, but we do protein, we do eggs. Yeah. I haven't felt limited, and I think that's what makes me feel like this diet is sustainable for a lot of people, because there are a lot of ways to edit your recipes to make it keto friendly. And I've always told him, as long as I don't feel like I'm being deprived of something that I want to have, I'll stick with it. And so we've just played around with it. Earlier today, I made basically a cinnamon roll in a mug in the microwave, and because I wanted that fix, but I also needed it to be high in fat and low in carbs. And granted, I'm not saying you should eat all of these things just because you can on keto, but there are variations so that you don't have to feel like you're missing out on something, because when you're missing out, I think it's hard to, or you feel like you're missing out, it's hard to stick to a diet because you're more tempted to cheat when you feel like you're restricted.
For sure.
So, it's like why kids act out when they go to college if they've been raised by really strict parents. It's the same kind of thing. Like if you feel like you cannot have something, you're more likely to give in and actually have it.
For sure.
So just some like overall tips for you guys if you're thinking about doing this. Number one, drink lots of water.
Yes.
You can explain why if you want, or we can just say drink lots of water.
Just drink lots of water. As your body starts utilizing more fat and up front, when your body starts utilizing all the stored glucose in your muscles and in your liver, it pulls a lot of water out of your body as well with that glucose. When the glucose is pulled from the muscles and pulled from the liver, the stored version is called glycogen. So they call that basically a glycogen dump. So when you're pulling all of that glycogen out of the muscles and out of the liver, essentially a lot of water comes with that. So in the first couple weeks, and as your body's adapting to using a lot of fat as fuel, you're gonna have to go to the bathroom a little more frequently, just because your body is excreting a lot of that water that's being pulled from the muscles and pulled from the liver. So not to get too sciencey on you, but yes.
I think people like the sciencey part of it. But yeah, drink lots of water. Honestly, for me, that's been one of the easier things to do, because I was so nervous when we started that I would snack or do something or have too much or whatever, that my answer was always like, I'll just drink a glass of water and go upstairs away from the pantry. And so I had no trouble like increasing my water intake just because I wanted to stay full. See, someone said they love science. I knew Jess would love the science. So another thing, and we just touched on this, but like sit down and think about the meals that you really enjoy. And I guarantee you there is some sort of keto version of that, so that, again, you don't feel like your whole life has been flipped upside down when you do keto. You can still enjoy some of the same things, and just to make it easier on yourself. And obviously, over time, the goal is to do the healthiest versions of the fats and whatever. Right. But like as your body transitions and as you kind of like wean into the, keto diet, to me, that makes sense. Like you don't have to give up all of these recipes that you like. You just have to modify them so that you can have them and still stay within your...
Yeah, modify it and add cheese. It's easy.
Not always. Some people do it without a bunch of cheese. Honestly, I feel like we pretty much have the same amount. I might have a few extra cheese sticks during the week, but it's not like I'm making everything out of cheese constantly.
Cheese casseroles.
Ew.
Put cheese in a bowl,
Gross.
make it a cheese casserole.
No thanks. Don't want that.
So
any other tips for...
in all, when you start the keto diet, in general, you go through that adaptation process that usually takes, anywhere between 5 to 14 days. And some people's symptoms are a little more severe. It can be accompanied with headache. Sometimes you just feel generally a little more anxious. You just generally feel a little run down. And, the kind of the term for that is the keto flu. And that's your body just, when you see drug addicts on TV having withdrawals from whatever they do, your body does that same exact thing with sugar. When you don't have 300 grams of simple carbs in your diet every day, you're like, oh man, I got to get me some Sour Patch Kids. So you really, really, yes. And you can get very like mood swings and irritable, and I never get that way. So it like totally drives me crazy.
I will say the Keto Go, ketones, keto coffee though, all have are mood enhancers. Like that has helped. It's made a dramatic difference. Even when I'm hangry, I feel like if I even have just like a few sips of my ketones, I just am in a better mood. And maybe it's just because I really like the keto coffee. Yeah. But there are some ingredients that are proven to help mood. So yeah,
for sure. So once you get through that, not to say it's going to be smooth sailing forever, because there's always going to be little bumps in the road. But hey, I mean, essentially when we try these diets or when we try these new ways of living or whatever, I mean, we are literally one big, giant science project. Keto diet's not for everyone, just like a low-fat diet's not for everyone, just like the Mediterranean or the grapefruit diet or the whatever. Every diet has, every person has a specific diet that's going to align best with them in that moment. And it's going to change as their life changes. When you go from being a athlete to a mom to a student to whatever, the dietary requirements are going to change and your lifestyle is going to change. So the way you fuel for your life is going to have to adapt with that. If keto fits in there, which I think it fits pretty well with most people, great. If it doesn't, we're just one big science project. Stick with it, for 3 months. And if you absolutely hate it, try something different.
Yeah.
And there are ways to adapt the keto diet. So, the very old school way of the keto diet was like 85, between 80 and 90% fats. And that is, I sure as heck couldn't do that. I don't really know anybody that could do that unless it was prescribed by a doctor to prevent your epilepsy, That being said, that was 25 years ago. Things have changed and evolved, and we've done a lot of science. I say we, like I've been doing it personally, but there's a lot of science.
We have been for 2 weeks.
There's a lot of science that's been done that shows you can stay in a healthy ketosis state, adapting to fat as fuel, and it can fit in your life, and it can become healthy. It can become a long sustainable choice for you.
Yeah. Well, and over time you can increase some of the carbs and stuff too. Just we were talking about the carb cycling days. As your body starts to get used to that, you do get to increase those numbers. So that's what I've been working towards. Be really good so that way I can increase my carb count. But again, like you said, I think it can be sustainable for most types of people because you're not, again, you have to get used to the good fats, not just eating anything that's out there. You want to do any diet in the most healthy way possible. But I'm excited about it because I feel good, and to me, that's more important right now in my life than losing weight, dropping pounds. Yes, I want to see improvements in the gym, and I want to be able to build muscle, but I also want to feel good and knowing that I'm putting good things into my body and things that are proven to help with other serious illnesses and stuff too. I don't know. I can use all the brain function I can get. So
I've been training for Ironman, and I've been trying to drop a few pounds, and it's been tough basically since Christmas before we started this whole keto thing. And we decided to do our kind of modified version of keto just over 2 weeks ago. And I've already lost, I've lost about 6 consistent pounds. Not like that, I weighed 6 pounds less in the morning compared to at night,
took my
whatever.
hat off.
Yeah, exactly. But I've lost a consistent 6 pounds over about almost 18 days.
Yeah.
18 days, I think. So it's working for me, and I've felt really great, and I'm happy that we're doing it.
Yeah. So I'll just leave y'all with one last thought again, and I touched on this before, but I think the self-discipline part of any diet is awesome. And I also think there's so many things with keto that teach you about what's good for your body, what's good for your cells, what's good for your brain. Even if it's if we're not fully keto our whole life, I feel like I know that leaning more towards a keto spectrum of the diet and getting higher fats into my diet, I know that my brain functions better that way. So if nothing else, I'm glad that we at least gave it a shot, because now I know, even if I'm not worried about being in ketosis, I know that I stay fuller longer when I'm using healthy fats. I feel better. My brain works way better when I'm using healthy fats. And so I think it's worth anyone to worth it to anyone.
Yeah.
Well, not anyone. If you have a serious health condition, like we said, you got to talk to your doctor. But I think it's worth it to any normal person to play around with some healthy fats and some healthy ways to do these different diets and see how you feel and what works best for you and for your lifestyle and, you know, how active you are and all of that. Mm-hmm. So, okay.
All right, Facebook world.
We're out.